stance on things, but I think the purpose of your group is really more about education, and like you said, the booth where you had was, let me give you some literature, take a look at it, and then informing people of basically what the rules are, what the laws are, and what the options are. And I think the discussion, the more prevalent the discussion it has, as far as getting people's mentality and understanding things, and obviously it will take time. But like I said, when you look at what California's done, where they've had rules that they've changed, I think Colorado probably taken the most bold step. Being able to point at the successes and the failures of those types of operations will basically kind of determine the outcome of what the future holds, and Oregon too. So this is something I think, and there's, like I said, there's been more discussion in a lot of other states. I think in the Northeast, there's also been a few other states that have explored different options with that. I don't know if they've ever actually put legislation through for vote, but like I said, it's Colorado's kind of canary in the coal mine. Everybody's watching to see how that unfolds, and if if they are ultimately, if they are able to curb the issues that they have and eliminate other problems from surfacing, then I think, like I said, it's a much stronger argument for other states to follow suit and be able to enforce similar type of policies. So, my general experience, seeing that is that again, it's dealing with the cartels and the grip on the trade is the root of one of the largest problems. And so, if being able to take the cartels out of the equation is also, I think, a very strong leg that you have to stand on to argue on how to combat a lot of the drug violence and the financing that organization receives the benefit of. And anytime you have an anti-cartel argument, you're always going to have some people that may not have always necessarily been in your corner, but now are willing to stand in your corner and say, hey, maybe I don't have a strong opinion one way or the other on this, but I do have a strong opinion about horrible things that the Sinaloa cartel, or the Gulf cartel, or the Zeta cartel, or the La Familia cartel is doing to the people in Mexico, or to the people who live on the Texas-Southwest border. And so if this puts a damper on their financial ability to continue to harm other people, then I think it's another angle to be able to garner support for the movement you guys are fighting for. So.
I've got a question. You were putting a distinction between the medical and the recreational,
right.
And because of how states are going either or.
Right.
As a judge, you're a district court judge. Do you see any drug cases? I assume you wouldn't.
It depends on the circumstances. As a district court, you're a court of general jurisdiction. So it means that you have a jurisdiction to handle civil cases or lawsuits. You have jurisdiction over felony criminal cases, and then family cases like divorce or adoption, things of that nature. So there's certainly jurisdiction for the court to be able to hear a drug case if one was presented. Although since we have a county-created drug court, the vast majority of those cases get filtered through Judge Giss.
If you were to have in a hypothetical situation, if you were to have a family come before you that's in court over custody or something, divorce or custody, something like that, and the subject matter of substance abuse, marijuana came up, would it be up to the court, up to you as a judge, to decide whether or not that child would be taken from the family? Or
possibly, it would depend on the case and the circumstances of each case.
This leads me to the question I was going to have before it. Between the medical and the recreational. Just because somebody doesn't have a debilitating or chronic illness that is allowed in other states, much like alcohol is used to relax when they get home, people use cannabis for therapeutic reasons, not necessarily medicinal reasons, and therapeutic don't have to be defined by a doctor, which is why herbal medicines use therapeutic terminology instead of medicinal terminology. That because of law they can't say that it has medicinal use. But so most people that consume cannabis, they do it for a reason that's, even whether they know it or not, is therapeutic. If you say, I'm just a recreational user, I like to come home and smoke a joint when I get home and relax and then go to bed, Well, you're smoking it to relax. You're using it for anxiety. It's a stress reliever. It's
Insomnia.
A therapeutic use. So when it comes before the court, depending on the situation, of course, if they're running drugs, running stuff in and out of the house, and there's obvious dangers with the family, you extract the child. But if it's just a parent that occasionally or daily uses cannabis, would you extract the child from the home?
Well, the standard that you look at is what's in the best interest of the child.
Right.
And that's, right, yeah, and that's the only square thing you look at. The character of parents, you don't get to look at, is this guy a nice guy or a jerk? You gotta look at what's the best interest of the kids. So I think really the greater issue to look at, if you have someone that's using marijuana for therapeutic reasons, then what is the issue that they have that they require therapeutic treatment for? So like, for instance, if you have someone that has, someone that has like post-traumatic stress disorder, is
Right.
that somebody who has a disorder that's going to impair their ability, that child receive the treatment they need?
Just comes home tired from work and chooses instead of having 2 beers, I decide to get my whole.
Well, I mean, I think even if you have, somebody just said I had 2 beers when the kids come home, I think if you have to look at the circumstances and say, is the child in an environment where they are able to have all the needs that they need in order to be successful, are they being met? And so, if you got a parent who's treating all, satisfying all the needs of the child, that they're being well fed, they're well clothed, they're given all the care that they need, they're in a safe environment, they're not exposed to harm, all things being equal, I mean, I don't think that the mere fact that if somebody was, had
Cannabis in their
regular use
system.
of using,
Yeah.
had some marijuana in the system would be a de facto thing to say, all right, we're taking the kids away from you.
As long as the child is not neglected.
Yeah, I mean, I think,
Hey, even if you interviewed the kids and the kids said, I don't even know what you're talking about.
yeah, I mean, like if you had, the doctor came back and said, well, you got a 2-year-old and he has a THC count that's like really, really high because he's been exposed to this. I mean, I'm just giving you hypothetical situations. But I mean, I think that's something that, each and every fact you got to take a look at and then see what is it that people are.
Wait, Corey, wait a minute. Can you finish your PTSD, what you were saying, your sentence, please?
Oh, I think if you have, the situations where somebody has some type of issue that, whatever it may be, if they're dealing with therapy for some sort of,
Sorry.
if you have a veteran that has some sort of particular issue that requires treatment, and if there's a situation that if somebody has an issue that would limit their ability to care for the child compared to another environment, then you look at what the child is. The child not being able to receive the treatment they need.
Yeah, this isn't a child. I was just curious about your sentence on there on PTSD.
Like me,
But I see what you're saying.
I've been diagnosed with PTSD, but I'm not a veteran. Me too. And I also have anxiety disorder. My child has 3 different disorders. My child's been having to pop pills since the age of 3. It's horrible. But he has to, otherwise he can't go to school and function. They make him leave school because he can't control certain things. He has imminent explosive disorder, which is an impulse control disorder, which causes aggression. It causes certain things, plus the ADHD. And then with my disorder, we're sitting here having to take pills for it. Or sometimes I go home because I can't smoke, because, and I don't. But if I could, I would. But I go home and say, I have me a bottle of wine. Because that's the only thing that legally I can do. But then that starts progressing. It's drinking and taking the pills is so much worse than smoking a joint. You can smoke one joint and then you don't need nothing. You're calm. And like, say if we were to go to court, I'm a single mother. Say his father was battling me for custody, and yes, I was using marijuana, but yet he's prescribed Xanax or whatever it is, but yet his house is a little more fit, or say he makes more money or could, provide better. Well, he prescribed that Xanax, which to me is 1,000 times worse than smoking cigarettes. Because people don't remember. And then you have someone that smokes a little weed just to become normal, because people like me, our minds don't stop, not even at night. Like, I don't sleep good at night, not even with prescription pills. Do I overdo them? No, I don't, because I'd rather not take medication. But yes,
You know,
So it's,
the issue with, the veterans, is that's where we, kind of
because
got
like
off the topic.
PTSD also, like, I was in a horribly abusive relationship. It caused a lot of stress, and then having drug addicted parents and seeing the physical abuse and all this due to pills and alcohol and,
Right.
if it would have just been marijuana in this situation, there probably wouldn't have been fighting at all. They'd be smiling and hugging each other, but it wasn't like that.
With so many veterans that came back from Iraq and Afghanistan and, so little understanding of the post-traumatic stress disorder that happened, people, if you kind of watch the movie American Sniper, that's the best film I think that actually tries to explain how you go to one and come back, and everybody's like, well, what's wrong with you? Why can't you be normal?
Yes.
And what's really heartbreaking is there's so many veterans that went and fought and had a hard time adjusting back to life and dealing with the day-to-day of the post-traumatic stress disorders. And that's why there's such a high suicide rate among our veterans. And so, there are many veterans that have said that,
Really
using
be better with marijuana than with
marijuana
all
use has
drugs.
helped cure the post-traumatic stress
Well,
disorder.
they still,
Anything,
it gets to where, like my son, his insurance didn't want to cover one of his medications because of his age. They changed it up, the whole insurance, the whole pharmaceutical industry. They changed it up. I had to watch my son go 4 days, because I couldn't afford a $600 prescription for my son. I had to watch my son literally go through withdrawals at the age of 5 years old.
You don't have a dose of marijuana.
No, my son was on a couch straight from school, curled up in a ball saying his tummy hurt for 4 days. So finally I had to grab him up, go to them, cuss him out, and do what I had to do to get his medication. Because it's ridiculous seeing these kids that have these disorders, and if you can't afford that prescription at the time because it's so ridiculously high, you see these kids that are so addicted to these pills. Now my son, I'll have to remind me, you forgot my medicine. It's sad that my son's pretty much kind of addicted to the pill things. Now he thinks that every time there's a little something, he needs to pop a pill. And that's not right for a 6-year-old.
Right. So,
Man, I'm glad you were here.
Well, I'm an herbalist.
so
I
was-
make tinctures.
so-
Like,
there you go.
the camel, like,
So there,
I
on what
do
she was
tinctures.
saying, say she gave her child, hypothetical, say she gave her child cannabis oil, CBD or with THC, either one. I know it's illegal to get here, but if she had her hands on it and gave it to her son, and it came before the court, and you said anything that's detrimental to the child would be, he would be removed.
I
But
think
if they
we're-
have cannabis in his system, that's not detrimental to the child because the pills that she's given him are more detrimental than that, just because
I
they're
make
legal.
tinctures. Like, I could literally
I
put a
don't
body
think
make a tincture, do a drug with your son, you're fine.
I think that they would determine,
He wouldn't do
If
any
it's that
pill.
and that and that.
because, now what we've got is a medical discussion, not
I can
just
put it in a
so
classroom.
you've got medical literature, or you have a doctor that can come in and say, this is a type of treatment for this disorder. Well, then now, like I said, you're just having a medical, you've got a clear established medical issue, and so now you're looking at what are the different various treatments. And so, and what's your name?
Lacey.
Lacey, it's like a Lacey situation, she could say, we have this disorder, it's been diagnosed, it's been chronicled, these are the different treatment options we've had. We tried this medication, this hasn't worked, this has this adverse side effect, this is the treatment, this is the most effective.
Yeah, they have my son on amphetamine.
Wow.
All the ADHD medicines
Texas
are
doctors,
amphetamine.
4 of whom have signed letters to the state legislature on my behalf stating that cannabis has actually cured my diabetes, my trigeminal neuralgia, my diabetic neuropathy, and it's helping with my back pain. I have spinal stenosis, I need surgery. But
Hey, come to me, I work at the spinal, I'm actually the referral coordinator and patient advocate at Center of Laser and Spine Surgery, and I literally talk to 1 million people like you who done the shots, done all the medications. I talk to them, they're so discombobulated on pain medicine.
different medications.
Exactly.
I'm Daniel Grove, works at MD Anderson.
And I was a
Kansas
zombie.
City.
Yeah.
Yes,
And
ma'am.
I know the whole thing.
Mr. Wortham, you've talked a lot about Colorado and the cartel.
Yes, ma'am.
What is your stand and how are you going to help our organization here in Texas? You have not mentioned Texas too much. And if we were to elect you, Mr. Wortham, would you get up there and change your mind that your moral side decided you didn't like us?
Well,
That's all.
well, my people always ask me what a platform is on, various issues, but, in a judicial race, there's really only one platform, which is follow the law. Now, the legislature is the one that sets the law. As a judge, you have some judicial interpretation, but you look at what the law is, and you apply and you follow the law as fairly and faithfully as you can. So I think a lot of the issues you talked about are things that the legislature has to roll up their sleeves and decide if they're going to take some action, how are they going to do that. Now,
Sorry.
my understanding is that the Texas Controlled Substances Act has a provision for medicinal marijuana as being one of the exceptions to the usable quantity possession. And when I was in the district attorney's office, this was around 2007, 2008, 2009, and a lot of those cases, I was very surprised that one provision was never really raised or ever came up, because occasionally you would talk to somebody that said that this was for medical reasons or medicinal reasons. Of course, usually the follow-up question would be do you have any information or literature about what your ailment is and what your treatment are? And they could never provide me with it. And so that was usually the way I would ask, kind of filter out if somebody was telling me this sincerely, or if this was just something they were using to try and find another avenue. But I mean, the law on the books is, and I haven't looked at the statute since 2007, so about 9 years. So forgive me, I can't recite the actual code provision. But the law does address, at least on the medical side of that, it contemplates the use of marijuana to treat certain type of ailments. But I think there's a lot of misunderstandings, especially even law enforcement, about that the law even exists.
Right.
Yes,
Thank you.
I'm a Christian. I believe in the Bible, the whole Bible, the Old and New Testament. And in several places throughout the Bible, it speaks of using cannabis for medicinal purpose and for religious anointings. Okay, it says the cannabis was put in the anointed oil. That they anointed the tabernacle furniture, and the priests. The priests, that oil was poured over them, they were saturated in it. And the skin, as we know, is the largest organ. And it's absorbed through the skin. So the priests were actually high priests, okay? And they also smoked it because in the most holy place, they had a cauldron underneath the Ark of the Covenant that they put the hot rocks in, and then they put the cannabis on top, and the smoke would roll up, and this was when they would start to talk to God. They would speak to the Holy Spirit through the Holy Spirit through the smoke.
Well, like in the
I'm
Bible,
reading this in a tent, okay? So you know that they're getting high.
like
Okay,
in,
then they were also, Ezekiel was commanded, told by God, to bake it into his bread, lie upon his left side for 390 days, and he would be healed. Now, it doesn't say that he had colon cancer, but my dad had colon cancer, and I know the colon drains to the left, and so I'm just surmising Ezekiel may have had colon cancer. He did what God told him, and he was healed. He baked the cannabis into his bread. He ate it for 390 days, and he was healed. And Jesus healed with cannabis, and he taught his disciples to heal with cannabis. And so when I came down with this trigeminal neuralgia, and I was on all these different pain pills, I was a zombie. I couldn't drive without falling asleep at the wheel. I couldn't eat a meal without falling asleep with my face in the plate. I couldn't hold a conversation. I couldn't keep a train of thought. I would be in the middle of a sentence and it would just stop. My thoughts would vanish. I was literally a drug-induced, I had drug-induced narcolepsy. When I went to Boston in January for the inauguration, January 2015, I ate some bad chicken or bad potato salad that the state capitol put out there for the feed everybody, okay? Maybe it had been out there too long, I don't know. But I came down with food poisoning. I was still taking morphine, oxycodone, tizanidine, and gabapentin for my pain, which was to no avail. And when on the way home, I got terribly sick. By the time I got home, I was so sick I couldn't hold still. So they came up, so all I could do was smoke marijuana and eat chicken soup, soda crackers, and Gatorade. And that was my diet for 4 days. At the end of the 4 days, I was done with the pills. I couldn't keep them down anyway, so there was a point in taking them. I was completely off the medication, and I made it through food poisoning without hospitalization, and I'm a heart patient, by the way.
I don't think we need to
So,
convince them.
without any assistance, medical assistance, cannabis, God, and cannabis, chicken soup, Gatorade, soda crackers, was my salvation. Because otherwise I would have been admitted to the hospital. They would have put me on methadone to take me off of all those pills. They would have been injecting me. I would have been, just still back on the pills. The cannabis got me off of those pills. And I got through the withdrawals and everything, the food poisoning at the same time, in 4 days. So what I was leading up to was that also in the Bible, there are 2 instances that I can give you right now. Well, they're both in Daniel. One is in Daniel 3 about where Nebuchadnezzar built this golden image, and